Hello, and welcome to The Art of Being Selfish. I'm Dr. Sims, a licensed psychologist, and on this channel, I discuss ways that you can take care of yourself or be selfish so that you feel nourished and filled enough to take care of others. Now, while we will be discussing topics related to mental health on this channel, this is not a substitute for therapy. So, hey, I know that I've continued to be MIA for the last 2 months, but I'm excited to be back on the couch talking to you all today just about what I've learned over the last year of having a YouTube channel. Don't get used to these videos coming out during the week because I still plan on going back to posting them on Saturdays, but Black History Month is almost over and it just didn't sit well with me to not post something else during Black History Month. Additionally, it's still the anniversary month of the show, so it felt fitting to still post a video in February. So I'm putting this out because there aren't any more Saturdays in February, but we will definitely get back to our Saturday schedule very soon. So like I said earlier, I really want to talk a little bit about what I've learned over this past year. If you all have been following me in any way, shape, or form, you know that lots of things have come up over the last year, particularly in the last half of the year or so. So I just want to talk about some of the things that really came up for me as I was doing this YouTube channel and really talk about how that can be applied to women who are pursuing their passion projects or trying to accomplish their dreams. I know that a lot of us are in places right now of figuring out what it is we want to do with our lives. How do we want to walk in our purpose? What are the things that we want to do to accomplish the goals that we set out? But sometimes it can be tricky getting there. So I want to say a little bit about what I've learned, but then just also talk about how do you be selfish as you are pursuing your passions and working on your dreams. So let's start here. One of the first things that I learned was to make sure that I stay true to my mission, to my vision, to my purpose. I noticed that as I was going through the process of building this channel and reading things to try to learn about like what the pros were doing and what other people had done to make it successful and get the word out, that I got distracted and I started focusing on things that weren't necessarily necessary to meet the purpose and the vision of what I had for this YouTube channel. I started this channel to focus on reducing the stigma around mental health, particularly in the Black community, and really encouraging Black women to engage in activities to help them take care of themselves. I also really wanted to be intentional about focusing on the intersectionality of Christianity and faith and mental health, because far too often those conversations are very mutually exclusive and very separated, and I really don't like that those two things can't exist in the same space. And lastly, I really wanted the focus to be on nurturing yourself so that you can be available to other people. I think that at a point I started to feel like the message really was more so just about focusing on yourself and not really including that serving other people part. So I really wanted to be intentional about how do we start to bring those conversations together, that we are still put here to serve, and I believe in the power of serving and being there for other people, but I also believe in making sure that you're healthy and mentally stable enough to do that work and care for other people. So those were the reasons that I started this channel, but as the year progressed, there was so much around like getting followers and getting views, and the way that social media for businesses are set up, YouTube included, is that they're constantly showing you like views and how many people have watched and how many minutes they've watched, and I really tried to like adjust and adapt to those things. So I noticed that people were only watching for X number of times, so I'm like, okay, well, let me make the video shorter so that people will watch the whole video and, you know, not leave X amount of time into the videos. And that was stressful. So I lost sight of making sure that I was putting out a good word and a good message, and focused a lot more on like posting on social media and getting likes and getting followers and using the right hashtag, and that's really just not what I came here for. So my advice would just be to stay focused on what you set out to do, and in doing that, the things that you want will come. Start from a place of integrity around what it is that you're doing. Focus on the integrity of whatever you're creating, and then everything else will fall into place. Don't get so focused on whether or not it's growing fast enough. And this isn't just for like people on social media who have YouTube channels or podcasts or anything like that, but like it can be a store, it can be whatever your business, whatever your dream, it could be acting, like pursuing that, any of those things, whatever it is, focus on the integrity of whatever it is that you're doing. Think about the why behind it, believe in that, and stay focused on that. Don't get swayed off the path of focusing on your intention, getting caught up in what everybody else tells you you're supposed to be doing, what everyone else says it is supposed to look like. Remember that there is a larger picture working at hand. Just because you can't see the whole thing doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't benefiting and isn't contributing to that. So make sure that as long as you are focused on your integrity, you're focused on your vision, you're focused on your purpose, that is going to bring something to fruition at the end. Another thing that I learned was to stay in my lane. So kind of kin to focusing on your vision and your purpose and your mission is also not comparing yourself to other people and not comparing yourself to other people's journey. So have you ever been driving down the road and see something off to the side, and then all of a sudden your car is slowly swerving over into the other lane? I don't know if it's just me, but that is really scary. You need a little jerk back into your lane. It's like, oh crap, there's another car on the side of me. And that's exactly what your life, like when you're following your passions, when you're pursuing your dreams, it can look exactly like that. You start looking off over here because this person is doing that, looking off over here because this person is doing that, and this person is getting this kind of success, and this person is getting these kinds of endorsements. And so what? Your lane is right here in front of you, and the more that you keep looking off and shifting into other lanes, you are causing yourself more stress and more harm than good. This isn't to say that you don't seek out people who are maybe more successful in the area that you're in and ask them for guidance or mentorship or things like that, but this is more so about like a numbers game, or this person that's in the same industry that I'm doing is doing so much better than me, so then I get discouraged. Why? It's not worth it. It's not helpful in your growth and in your journey, because your journey is just that. Like, God created you to have a unique journey. You have your own lane, your own path, your own way of getting there, and you can't compare that to other people and allow that to be discouraging. If you can compare yourself to other people, like, yes, that is motivating for me, they did that, that means I can do that and I can do that, absolutely, sure, go for it. But a lot of times when we're looking at other people, we're not looking at it from the standpoint of like, oh yes, I want to get there, that's really exciting. We're looking at it from the standpoint of we haven't gotten there yet. So make sure that when you're comparing, when you're looking at other people, it's not that you're swerving over into their lane and you're staying out of your own lane, but that is motivating, that you have people around you that are inspiring and that are encouraging. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. The people that I am surrounded with are so amazing. Like, they are starting businesses and they are pursuing these goals and they're getting promotions and they're out here doing all these amazing things. And I'm just like, wow, I am surrounded by so many people who are so dope and amazing. I have no other choice but to step up and be dope and amazing. So it's not that I'm looking over in their lane. They're usually in the passenger seat with me. Like, they're usually in the car with me, because that's how important my team is. But you want to make sure that you're surrounded by people who are lifting you up and encouraging you, but that you're not then comparing your journey to their journey. You want to focus on your own. And you want to focus on your own because there really isn't a prescribed way of doing any of this stuff. So, for example, YouTubing. This is not a strength area for me necessarily. Like, social media is not my forte. Posting things on Instagram, if y'all notice, it's just not something that I'm really good at. And I recognize what my strengths, like sitting down, recording these videos, put me in front of a computer and help me to type up a blog, like have me type up a blog, I'm in there, done, totally my lane. Some of these other things are not, and it's important to recognize like what your strengths are so that you're not looking at the wrong things. This is my strength. It doesn't mean that I can completely just stay away from social media, because obviously it's on YouTube, and so I have to find some level of strength in that. But I know what my strengths are, and I tap into those to make sure that I'm using them to the best ability. So you want to think about like, what are your strengths? What are the areas that you're really, really, really good at, and how do you harness that power to get you to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve? It is exhausting to try to walk the path and the journey of someone else, because you don't fit into that missing piece. It's as if our lives are puzzles and we have the puzzle pieces that go into our particular puzzle. But if you try to pull somebody else's puzzle piece over here that's on a completely different kind of puzzle, a completely different size, it's not going to fit. And vice versa. Don't try to put your puzzle pieces in somebody else's puzzle. This is your unique journey, and everybody's path does not look the same. Their path isn't the same of getting there. There are lots of twists and turns, and some people have stop signs in certain places, and some people get slowed down at a red light when you have a green light. All of those things matter, and it's just not fair for you to try to fit into someone else's path or walk someone else's journey. So talk to God, listen to what he says that you are supposed to do, and follow those paths and those steps, rather than reading these books that tell you how I became successful, how I made it, and expecting your journey to look the same way. Because the thing is, when you start trying to follow the path of other people or try to fit into that journey, you feel miserable and it starts to feel exhausting. And all you have to do is go back, 3 episodes, and see where that point was for me, because I was trying so much to learn and listen to what other people had done to be successful in this, that I was taking on more than I needed to handle and could bear. The people who are writing these books, they don't have to be a psychologist 40 hours a week. Like, they're not seeing clients 5 days a week and then coming home at the end of the day and trying to have a YouTube channel or trying to have a side hustle. That's not necessarily their life. So my journey looks very different. It took me burning out and failing and flopping before I realized that this actually isn't my lane. This isn't going to work for me, and I'm going to have to create this and do this on my own. So if you're doing something and you end up feeling miserable and overworked and tired and exhausted, that's probably not what God has or wants for you to be doing. So that's a really telltale sign that you need to pump the brakes, take a step back, and reevaluate your actions and your behaviors. Another way that shows up is that we're trying to rush and be successful and get these things done and have all of our dreams come to fruition very quickly and in the time that we want it to happen in. But our timing and God's timing are not in the same. They're not the same at all. And what we want to happen quickly, God might be like, nope, slow down. This is going to take a little bit longer, and we have to be mindful of that. So speaking of that timing, I feel like anytime you ask God for something, he doesn't just give it to you. Just push you in situations where you have to either learn it or you don't. And I think that over this last year, one key word for me is patience. I've learned so much patience, and I think that as you're going through following your dreams and pursuing your passions and going for those big things in life that you want, being patient is so important to accomplishing those goals. Because if you start looking at when you want it to happen and how you want it to unfold, and then it doesn't happen in that timeline, it leaves you feeling discouraged, and it doesn't give you any kind of motivation to want to go out and continue to pursue those dreams. There's just all of this pressure about what age we need to get things done and what time frame we have to get things done, and if you're not this by 21, if you haven't graduated from college by 21, 22, if you haven't gotten this by this time, if you haven't started this by this time, then you're failing and you're not doing it right. And we really have to let go of that pressure. We really have to let go of the idea that something X has to be done by X amount of time and in X amount of way, because it's just not realistic. And for some people that works, and that's amazing and that's so awesome. But at the end of the day, again, back to point 2, that's not everybody's journey. So you have to be willing to trust the process and be patient as you are pursuing these dreams and these goals. And I think a lot of times it comes from us looking at people in their prime and in their moment of success and being like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, look at what they've done, and not necessarily looking back at how far they've come, what their time frame for their journey has been. So that's something that I'm very intentional about. When I look and see this person has this number of subscribers or this number of followers, let me go back and see when did they post their first video, when did they post their first post on Instagram, and usually it's 4 or 5 years ago. So the idea that I would be successful within a year is absolutely ridiculous. And I'll do a whole nother episode about defining success. But you comparing your current situation to someone else's full journey and timeline, again, is doing you a disservice. One of the people that I think about that this really resonates a lot with me around is Regina Hall, because she is killing it in the game right now, and I'm so excited and so proud of her and just so impressed with everything that she's doing. And she is like a leading lady in everything right now, and I'm excited to support her and see that growth and see where she's gotten to. And it's easy to say, like, man, Regina Hall is great and she's just doing so much, and I want to be like her, and I want to, like, she's a role model for me, without considering the fact that Regina Hall has put in 2 decades of work. Best Man was the first movie that I saw her in, and that was very early in her career, so she's done plenty of other things since then, but that was 20 years ago. 20 years, so 2 decades this woman has been putting in work so that, yes, she can be the leading lady in all of these amazing critically acclaimed movies and shows now. So when I look at her journey and her progress and her process, it's like, wow, am I really willing to put in 20 years of work to get to the level of success that I want to be at? And a lot of us are not. A lot of us don't think about it from that time frame, that a lot of people who are successful have put in 2+ decades of work to get to where they are. Again, of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but most people put in a lot of work to get to their level of success. And I think that is something that we have to be patient around. We have to remember, we have to focus on. Whenever you think about your dream, whenever you think about your goal, I want you to ask yourself, is this something that I'm willing to wait 20 years before I actually see the fruits of my labor? And if you say no, this probably isn't your passion project. Like, this probably isn't the dream that you should be pursuing. But if you're willing to be patient and put in that long suffering, you are going to get the success that you're looking for. So last but certainly not least, and I imagine that you all could have seen this one coming, over the last year I really have learned the art of being selfish. So to be clear, being selfish is like a part of my DNA. I was an only child. I was raised an only child, pretty spoiled. I think I've talked about this on this channel before, but I'm a pretty spoiled person. Like, I'm used to getting what I want. I'm used to, like, things working out and being well and going in my favor. So focusing on myself has never really been an issue. But when I think about being selfish, when I think about the 7 foundational roots of this channel of the art of being selfish, I realized that it was a lot more intricate than I initially realized in my own life. So I'm really good at taking care of myself. I'm really good at making sure that I feel good so that I can help other people. I'm really good at, like, being present and aware. So those areas are kind of easy for me to navigate and take care of myself. But what happened was I introduced something very new and something that I wasn't used to at all. So when my husband suggested that I start a YouTube channel, like in 2015, I want to say it was, I was like, no. It was laughable. Like, it just wasn't something that was in my frame of reference or anything that I wanted to do. So last year when I was like, oh, I got this, self-care is my jam, I know what I'm doing, I can do this, and I can take care of myself, and I can manage it all. No, it was not that easy. It just didn't work out that way, because again, this is something very new, and for a lot of us, we aren't just working on our passion project. We typically can't just stop our full-time job just to go in and follow our dreams. For some of us, again, we can, but a lot of times we're doing something new, we're introducing something new, so then we have to adjust to whatever that new thing is. And I did not adjust. I thought that because this was my passion, because this was something that I loved and I was really excited about, that I could just plug it in and all of the other things in my life that I was doing to take care of myself would fall into place. That's not what happened. So remember, I said last year that basically you're a piece of art, like you are a masterpiece, and there are lots of tools that help you to get to being the masterpiece that you are. So you have to make sure that your tools, you have the right tools, that they're well oiled, that they are clean and ready to go in order to make sure that you are the masterpiece that you are supposed to be. And I didn't realize, and I didn't take into account, that I needed new tools. I needed new things that I had to put in. I needed new ways of balancing my schedule and making sure that I was able to be here and be present and do these different things. And I hadn't accounted for that. So that is why the August video came out, because I was trying to do more than I thought I would be able to handle. I thought that I could do a lot of that stuff, and I thought that adding in something that I love would just be easy peasy, and it wasn't. So that is something that I want to share with people. We think that because we're doing something that we're passionate about and we're doing something that we love, that it's just going to be easy peasy to just drop it right in there, because it's kind of like a self-care, because it's something that I love. And maybe it is something that you love, and it probably is something that you're passionate about, but you also remember that you have to make space for it. If you're going to a buffet and you're putting food on your plate and you have all of your favorite foods on there, that is awesome. But if you want to put another thing on there, instead of stacking it up higher, maybe something else needs to come off the plate. You have to be willing to increase your capacity to be able to add something in, even if it's something that you absolutely love. So in doing that, find fluidity and flexibility in your life. We talk a lot about work-life balance, but that to me suggests that it has to be equal, that you have to have equal experience at work and equal experiences in life. And I think that it's a little less balanced and more so about fluidity. It's about going with the ebbs and flows of life, having certain boundaries around different things and being firm in those boundaries, but also having the flexibility to bend when things come up rather than breaking. Be flexible enough with yourself to allow yourself grace. It doesn't have to be perfect. As a recovering perfectionist, you are good enough, and what you're doing is good enough, and maybe you have to change your measure of what is good enough, but whatever, if you are sitting down every week and putting a video out for people to see, you're taking away your free time to put out something that no one's paying you for and no one is necessarily asking you to do, that is good enough. You are putting yourself out there, you're doing something, contributing to something, doing a little bit more than you were originally. That is good enough. And you have to be willing to give yourself the grace around doing enough, because you are. So whatever it is that you've been holding off on, that you've been scared to take that leap around doing, that you feel like you need a little more encouragement, or you just need something else to fall into place before you actually do it, I would say forget all of that, make a plan, and start somewhere. Do something. Start with something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be everything, but you will never get to that level of success. You will never get to your dreams or your passion if you don't start somewhere. But along the way, make sure that you stay committed to your integrity of what you're doing, that you stay committed to your vision, your mission, that you stay committed to your vision, your mission, and your purpose, that you stay in your lane and focus on your journey and your path, that you be patient and be willing to wait 2 decades to get what it is that you want, and that you be selfish, that you take care of yourself throughout the entire journey and throughout the entire process, even if that means taking a break, stepping back, and getting some time to recollect yourself. So that's it. Be selfish and pursue your passions and your dreams. I look forward to continuing this journey with you all. I can't wait until 20 years down the line that we all look back at this video and say, wow, we've come such a long way. And I look forward to seeing you all next Selfish Saturday.